The blanket had little yellow ducks on it. That's the detail I can't get out of my head. Not the sound, not the dark, just that soft, cheerful fabric out where it never should have been. I've driven that road maybe 50 times in my life. I know every bend. I know the way the hedgerows lean in on the straight after Corbridge, the way the road dips before the Dilston turn. For a long time I thought the scariest part of that night was what I saw on the road. I was wrong. The scariest part happened in a Spar car park in Hexham. 11 minutes later. My name is Gemma. February 2017. 19, first year at Durham, driving home to my mum's in Hexham for the weekend. The A695 out of Corbridge is the road I always took. Follows the Tyne Valley west. Dark hedgerows either side. The river somewhere below you in the black. You can't see it at night, but you feel it. That low cold that comes up off moving water. My mum had taken me that way every Sunday to my nan's when I was small. I learned to drive on it. I left Durham just after 11. Row with my flatmates. Needed movement, needed air, needed to be somewhere that wasn't a 60 square meter box with other people's moods in it. Music up, heater on, roads empty. I came around the long left-hander past the Dilston turn at 11:50 p.m. and my headlights found it. Dark shape, low, dead center of the road. I slowed, drew up to 20 meters and stopped. An infant carrier, molded grey plastic, rear-facing ISOFIX style, upright, not cracked, not on its side, placed, and draped over the front of it, soft, neat, deliberate, a blanket, yellow ducks on white. I sat and looked at it. My brain started filing explanations, fell from a roof rack, bounced from an open boot, there you go. But there were no other cars. Behind me, nothing. Ahead, nothing. And the seat wasn't damaged from a fall. Someone had stood in that road in the dark and arranged it to be found. I was still working that out when I heard the crying. Not fussing, screaming. That desperate, full-lung sound that goes straight through glass and engine noise and hits somewhere animal in your chest. My hand found the door handle before I'd made any decision. I stopped myself. Something made me wait. Some quiet, cold part of me just said, not yet. I wound the window down an inch, listened. The crying continued. Same pitch, same rhythm, looping back on itself every few seconds in a way that was almost imperceptible. Almost. Then the speaker's battery started to die. The sound dropped in register, slowing, distorting, turning from a baby's cry into something low and metallic and wrong, like a recording being stretched, like something organic being pulled. It lasted 4 seconds. Then the pitch climbed back up and the crying resumed, seamless, as if nothing had happened. My mouth had gone dry. It was 11:52 p.m. I know because I looked at the clock. Some reflex, like part of me was logging evidence. I looked back at the seat, and I saw the movement. Left side of the road, where the verge dropped into the drainage ditch and the hawthorn hedge rose behind it. Something shifting, low at first, then straightening, then still. The size and rough outline of a person, just outside the reach of my headlights. My brain served up the rational explanation fast, the way it does when it's desperate. Fox, deer, shadows, you're tired, you've been driving 40 minutes, there's nothing there. And for 1 second, I almost believed it. Almost convinced myself it was nothing, that the seat had fallen from a car, that the sound was a cat, that the shape was a trick of the dark. Then it took 1 step toward me, slow, deliberate, testing. I found the accelerator. I'd barely touched it when the second shape appeared. Right side, further back, barely in the edge of my beams. Same stillness, same patience. 2 of them. I floored it. The front left tire clipped the seat as I hit it, and the thing didn't crush. It wedged, caught under the front bumper, dragging, and for 3 full seconds the car fought itself, engine screaming against the resistance, a sound underneath like tearing metal on tarmac, loud and horrible. And I kept my foot down. I did not lift it. I did not look in the mirror. I kept going. And then something gave. The scraping stopped. The car lurched forward, and I was through and moving, and the speedometer read 60 on a 40 road, and I didn't touch the brake for a full mile. I pulled into the Spar car park on Hexham High Street. Engine on, doors locked, hands still on the wheel. I sat there for a moment, just breathing. Then I called my mum. She answered on the second ring. It was just after midnight. She'd been asleep. I told her. She didn't say calm down, didn't say are you sure. She said, stay exactly where you are. Lock the doors. I'm calling the police. I said they're locked. She said, all of them? I said yes. Of course. Why? She said, just stay on the line. Northumbria Police were there in 11 minutes. 2 officers, a patrol car. They pulled alongside me, checked I was unhurt, took an initial account. One of them went back out to the Dilston stretch. The other stayed with me. While the first officer was on the road, I got out of the car. Needed air. Needed to not be sitting inside that sealed metal box anymore. I stood on the tarmac in the car park, and that's when I noticed the boot. The locking mechanism, it's a push button on the exterior, old car, nothing electronic, was sitting slightly proud of its housing. Not much, just a few millimeters. The kind of thing you'd never notice unless you were standing right over it in a lit car park at midnight. I pressed it. The boot opened immediately, no resistance, as if the latch hadn't fully caught. I stood there for a second. Then I shone my phone torch inside. Empty. Of course, empty. Just the usual. Boot liner, a canvas shopping bag, a spare tire cover. Nothing there. But on the underside of the boot lid, the interior metal, the painted grey panel just above where the latch sits, there were 3 marks, horizontal, evenly spaced, roughly the width of fingers. The boot liner beneath them was scuffed in a single dark smear. I stood in that car park for a long time just looking at those marks. The second officer came back to check on me. I showed him. He looked at the mechanism, looked at the marks, said it could be the impact. When I'd driven over the seat, something from the undercarriage might have jolted the latch, road debris. The marks on the inside could be tool marks from the boot fitting, manufacturing imperfections. Older cars have all sorts. He said it in a steady, professional voice. He didn't meet my eyes when he said it. Here is what I have not been able to stop thinking about since that night. When the car seat caught under my bumper, those 3 seconds of scraping, stalling, the engine screaming and the car barely moving, I had my foot to the floor and my eyes straight ahead. I was not looking in the mirrors. I was not watching what was behind the car. 3 seconds is long enough to cross the distance from the verge to the rear of a moving vehicle. 3 seconds is long enough to find a latch and pop it. And when something gives and the car finally pulls free, when you're suddenly moving again at speed with the adrenaline slamming through you and music still on and the heater still blasting, you are not thinking about your boot. You are thinking about getting away. I got away. I drove all the way to the Spar car park in Hexham. 11 minutes. The police went back to the Dilston stretch that night. They found fragments of the car seat, molded grey plastic, a sheared isofix bolt scattered across the tarmac. The seat itself was gone. The blanket was gone. Everything else was gone, which means someone came back for the pieces, or someone was already there when the officers arrived and slipped into the hedgerow while the torches were pointed at the road. The detective who called me the following morning, same investigation, existing file, told me there had been 2 prior incidents with similar setups in rural Northumberland. 2 women had stopped. She didn't tell me what had happened to them. She said they were both safe and that the investigation was ongoing. She asked if I'd noticed anything unusual about my car after the incident. The boot, the undercarriage, anything. I told her about the latch, the marks. A pause. She said, "Did you touch anything inside the boot?" I said I'd shone a torch in, seen the marks. That was all. Another pause. She said, "We'll have someone look at the car today. Don't open the boot again before then." I asked her why. She said it was routine. She said it in the voice of someone who had decided what to tell me and what not to tell me, and had just told me everything she was going to. A forensic officer came to my mum's that afternoon. Spent 40 minutes with the car on the drive. She didn't say much. Bagged a few things. Took photographs of the latch mechanism and the interior marks. Asked me to confirm I hadn't opened the boot since the previous night, except the once in the car park. I confirmed it. She thanked me and left. Nobody ever called me with results from that examination. I asked twice over the following months. I was told the investigation was ongoing. I was told they'd be in touch if anything significant developed. They never were. I still live in the Northeast. I finished my degree. I take the A69 now, both ways, always, lit the whole way. I've driven the A695 twice since that February. Both times full daylight, both times with someone in the passenger seat, both times holding my breath from the Corbridge roundabout to the Hexham junction. Both times I heard nothing, saw nothing. The road looked like a road. I have one photograph on my phone, taken that night in the Spar car park under phone torchlight. 3 horizontal marks on the grey painted interior of my boot lid, evenly spaced. I've shown it to 2 people. One said road debris, didn't look twice. The other, someone I trust, held the phone for a long time without speaking. Then she handed it back. She said she wasn't sure. She didn't say what she wasn't sure about. I didn't ask. The men on the road, if they were men, if that's what they were never identified. No CCTV. No forensics from the scene. No arrests. The investigation is technically still open. The yellow duck blanket was never recovered. But here is the thing. When the forensic officer finished with the car and walked back to her van, she stopped at the end of the drive and looked back at the car for a moment. Then she looked at me, then back at the car. I asked her if she'd found anything. She said, "The marks on the interior are consistent with pressure applied from inside the boot." I stood there. She let that sit for a second. Then she said, "It could be a lot of things. Don't read too much into it." She got in her van and drove away. I went inside and told my mum I was fine. I made tea I didn't drink. I sat at the kitchen table and, I thought about the 3 seconds the car was stalled on that road. About my foot to the floor and my eyes straight ahead and the mirrors empty in my peripheral vision. About the 11-minute drive to the Spar car park with the heater on and the music still running. About what a person can do in 3 seconds when a car is barely moving and no one inside is watching the back. About what can ride 11 minutes in the dark and be gone by the time the lights of a car park find you. I don't know what was in that road. I don't know what made those marks. The only thing I'm certain of, the only thing, is that I didn't stop. Not when I should have. And somehow, that's the part that still keeps me up at night. Gemma still lives in the Northeast. She drives to work every morning on lit roads, in daylight. There are no suspects, no arrests, no explanation for what was placed on that road, or by whom. or how many times before Gemma it had been placed there. Northumbria Police closed the active investigation in late 2018. Insufficient evidence. The boot marks were logged, filed, never explained. And here is the last thing. When Gemma's old car was finally scrapped in 2020, the mechanic who processed it called her to ask whether she'd ever had the boot lining replaced. She said no. He said there was something wedged behind it, between the lining and the metal. She asked what? A bootlace, a single bootlace knotted at one end. She doesn't know what it means. Neither do I. We'll be back next week at 3 a.m. Sleep well. And if you're ever driving alone on a dark road and something stops you, something in the road, something that sounds helpless, something designed to make you feel like you have no choice, keep your foot down. Don't look in the mirrors. And whatever you do, don't open the boot.